Hi, I'm Mr. Miyagi, and this is Mr. Miyagi's Workshop. Yeah, I know I haven't been making videos for quite some time, but I thought I'd do one. I kind of went rogue here. Normally I work on XS 650s or the old Harleys or, even the Honda 360s. I kind of wanted something different to ride, so bought a Royal Enfield. A Royal Enfield Himalayan Scram, which stands, I guess, short for Scrambler. Now, I had tried out the Himalayan, the straight Himalayan, and it was a nice bike. It handled well. It was basically the same framework, engine, and everything that this has got. The differences are, it runs a 21-inch wheel where the Scram runs a 19-inch wheel. And it didn't come with a lot of stuff like the Himalayan came with. It has, well, let me just show you. So some of the things I added was the windshield, a little screen on the front, the hand guards. I changed out the stock mirrors and went with these adjustables. I really like them. They work well. I also added the engine guard, which is kind of nice. And the Scram does not come with a kickstand, a center kickstand. So I added that. Plus the back rack. And this back rack here and these side racks, which I'll show you later what I've done. I also added a mount for my GPS. Now I made this and it was fairly simple. One of the other things I did too is I added these angles style setbacks for the handlebars to put it back in a little more comfortable position. And you can see what I did on the GPS mount. I just made a strap that attaches to this. I just cut it all out and then used these upper screws to hold that in place. And it's good sturdy mount. One thing this doesn't have, it doesn't have a tack. I wish it had. And I'm not sure about this turn-by-turn thing. I've got it synced in with my phone. It gives me the time. Here, let me turn it on for you. Show you what this thing looks like. So it does have, this unit here, which seconds as a clock, but it also will tie in with your phone if you're navigating. But then again, I have the GPS. So I kind of wish I had a tack. This is kind of nice. It does, I don't know if you can make it out on here. It does have a fuel gauge, and it has a trip meter on it. Well, we've already got 500 and some odd miles on it. And it has a trip A and a trip B. And it also tells you what gear it is in and then what the time is. And then down here, let me fire it up. It has the engine stuff and whatever. Now, one of the reasons why the engine light keeps coming on is if you don't set this gas tank down good and tight, it doesn't work properly. Oh, also up here on the handlebars, I added a USB charging station. This is kind of on off. Works with the key. And on the back side here, you can't see it right now until I got the key on, but it also gives you a voltage. And it works quite well for charging whatever you want to charge. And then, of course, I put in my InReach mount on there. So, yeah, that works good. Just to keep in touch with the wife. One of the other things that the Scram does not come with and that is a way to turn off your ABS. So what I ended up doing is I put a switch down right down in here, a little waterproof switch, and then I tied it into my box right back in here. And basically all I really did is I took one of these fuses, and I ground it down and pulled out the center and soldered 2 wires on it, and then put a fuse connection right in there. It's a 5-amp fuse, and I put it in there and tied it in. So I can turn off the ABS when I'm off-roading. And that's one thing about the Himalayan. They have a button on the dash that you can hit, and that's all it does is turn stuff off. The light on the Speedo up here, and I'll show you here. That ABS light down in here will stay. Yeah, that ABS light will stay on when you have it turned off, and just letting you know that you don't have ABS on. And then when you turn it back on and move a little bit, then it goes out. Another thing that I did is I put in this little fuse panel. This is where the tool bag usually rides, and I've got it down here. There's a document door that covers up here, but I just threw it in there, and my little tool bag, plus I pack a few extra. But this little thing here ties in. I've got, let me walk around to the other side here, turn this bike off. Okay, so way I've got it set up, I've got the GPS on there when I turn the key on, and the USB port up there on the handlebars. And all I did is I tied into the tail light, the rear tail light. So when the rear tail light comes on, it activates this little solenoid right here. And it's just one of those ones you can get at the auto parts store, and wire it in. And then what that does is when you turn the key on, it activates this and then allows power to go to this terminal, which then lights up everything else, puts power to it. But it's also on a fuse area there, so I kind of like that. And I also have 2 more ports where I can get this. Now this is Blue Seas, and I got it from West Marine. I'm sure you can find it somewhere on eBay or Amazon. And then I grounded, oh yeah, that was another thing. I grounded out the switch for this. This unit needs to ground. So moving right along. Yeah, another thing I added was these, since I have these racks, I added these canisters back here. And this has got all my tire repair stuff in here. I even have I also have in here a tire pump that is rechargeable, which kind of works out. Let me show you what that looks like. Oh yeah, I put everything in these little storage containers. You can get these on, I think I got mine on eBay or wherever. I have in here tire patching stuff. My little lets me know how much air pressure is in there. I have a couple of tire irons because these are tubes. And then these tire irons and a roller for putting the patches on. But this is kind of a nice little unit. This is something I found online. It's just a little contained unit that you can turn on. And I have here. It's also got a nice little light and a flasher. But it's got a nice clamp deal which just screws in right here. And there you're good to go. Plus you can put in the amount of pressure. Let me turn this on. I don't know if you can make that out or not. I've got the protective screen on here, but pressure is 0 on it right now, but you can also put in how much air pressure you want to put on it. So you can plus, like that's 45, but if you want to come down, you can bring it down like this. I'm hoping you can see that. Anyway, there, I've got it down to 32, and it'll pump up to that. So, and then it has the on-off switch. There, that was a turn on. Oh, and this is supposedly be able to work up to about 2 hours steadily. I haven't tried it yet, but anyway. And then it has a charging port. Let me turn these lights off here. It has a charging port right there that you can just plug into whatever to charge everything up. And then you just hold down and totally turn it off. So that's kind of a nice little unit. A little bigger than I wanted, but the other ones that you find, I've tried the CO2. They work to a certain extent, but when you really want to pump up a tire, you want to pump up a tire. And like I said, this works out quite nicely to stow everything. Now, one of the other things that I did is I added these Tusk, I don't know if you can see that, Tusk soft bags. And they came with the plates, but they're designed to go on the Tusk kit. So what I ended up doing is I kept the lower mount, and then I made these little loop overs and put in an extra set of grabs, and I took the top mount off, so these just basically slide on in place. This basically just sits on there, and you tighten these up. And I found these knobs. I got them in a hardware store. And then I put in some rubber in there to make the setup there a little tighter and screws up. So once these are tightened up pretty good, and then plus they come with these cross mounts that go across each side in each bag. Now, I was out test riding this yesterday, and I had it fully loaded with all my gear, and it was wet and miserable up there in the hills, but I had a great time. The bike actually performed a lot better than I thought it was going to, although I have a couple of upgrades that I want to do to this. Let's walk over to the bench and I'll show you. Now, there's a company, I think it's called DNA. They make an air filter for it, and this special little mount. This special little mount through them is $54 plus $20 shipping. This is some scrap aluminum that I had, and then I just used some 1/2 inch by 3/8 foam to set against this, and just marked out the cover. And this is a K&N filter, which is a reusable filter. Now, you could just plug this in without this opening, and I'll show you over here on the other side. Okay, we'll just pop this cover off. Now, when you take these covers off here, you only need to take these 3 off. That one there's kind of I don't know, I guess a dummy one, or it helps hold this thing in place because there is a pop-in grommet. All right, so you got a little rubber grommet with a piece here. Yeah, it's a little wet because I cleaned off all the mud so I didn't have to work on a dirty bike. And then there's your air intake. And these are pretty simple to take off. They're just a Phillips screwdriver. Try not to drop your screws. Normally these hoses hook onto this spot here, but I kind of wanted to show everybody how this is set up. So this is the unit, this is the cover, and when I made my cover, I just made a template of this, so, and lined up everything. This is a little pin mark right in here that sets up, and then the filter just comes right out. Pretty clean even after the stuff I went through yesterday. But when you put these in, what it does is it opens up your airflow a little more. And then it just sits, this just sits back in there. Now you could put this back on. Or like I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this mount that I made. And like I said, it was just out of some scrap aluminum that I had laying around the shop. 1/8 inch. Wasn't that exciting to build. You have to measure your filter, and I can't remember what size diameter hole saw I used on it. And then I just hand cut the rest of this out to make it work. So here we go. This is upgrade number 1. Now you got more airflow. This filter is protected by the cover itself, so when that's on, it's still able to breathe and stuff up in there. Alrighty, and I'll show you what my next upgrade is. Okay, I got this out of Colorado. So, isn't that fun? You got to see me open it because I've never opened this yet. So it's got a bracket that holds the muff on, and all the little components to help put it together. Some sealant for the exhaust itself. A fairly nice, this was a slip-on style muffler. I could have gotten the whole kit and everything, but this was, I think on their site there was $160. I mean, it's packaged up nicely. So, there's the company. You know, it comes with a bunch of stickers and everything. So they make one that's carbon fiber outside, but I kind of like the stainless. It's a nice stainless steel strap, and then I just used an Allen to get it apart. Let's pull it out of here. And then earlier you heard the bike run. So this is supposed to be a little bit more meatier and give you a little bit more horsies. And like I said, I was kind of impressed on how well the Scram ran. When I first tried these out, I got to try out the Himalayan, and I was going to go in, and I know a lot of people, how come you didn't buy the Himalayan? Well, I went in to buy a Himalayan, but they were all sold out. And they had one more coming in, but they told me as we were sitting there is that, yeah, it had gotten sold too. But he had these Scrams, which were, you know, I took it for a little ride, and I went, hey, this isn't half bad. It's torquey. It seemed to be a little bit more torqueier than the Himalayan. And yeah, it doesn't come with a lot of the stuff. Now, the Himalayan was $6,500. These were $5,100. So for me to get it back up to where I want it, and there was a few things that I didn't like about the Himalayan. Having the headlight locked straight forward. I still kind of like to be able to turn my headlight in the forest when it's dark. So that's kind of nice with the Scram. The one thing that I liked. Yeah, I didn't have a center stand, but I ordered a lot of this stuff out of India, and surprisingly really cheap. And my goodness, they were fairly fast on getting it here. Plus, it was so, I couldn't believe how well it was wrapped up. Um, the windshield, it took me longer to unwrap the windshield, the little wind up there, than it did to basically install it. Same thing with all the other components. They had them really wrapped up. So if you buy one of these units and you order from India, some of this stuff, be prepared to take some time to unwrap it. But I was totally impressed. Yeah, so the price wise gave me kind of an area where I could do this. So I probably don't have more than right now, I'm saying $600 into items. So that brings me up to, $5,700. Well, it's, still a little more expensive. Now, if you want the 21-inch wheel, for going over stuff, the clearance on this is slightly shorter. I didn't feel it up in the woods. I took it on some pretty awesome trails, and it was slippery and muddy, and there was a couple times I slipped out, and I was able to save it again without any problem. It reacted much quicker than I thought it was going to react. So I'm really happy. I had probably 80 pounds worth of gear on it. I'm going to go do what we have here, the Washington BDR, and I'm going to do part of it from Twisp over to Lake Chelan, and then from Lake Chelan over to the 97, and then head north to Plain for Tour Tech next week. So I wanted to try this thing out to make sure everything was going good. Plus, I wanted to try it with the stock stuff. So me putting on this muffler will allow it to go out. I also ordered one of those Fuel X lights, which is, plug and play unit. It helps mellow out the fuel injection system because these come a little lean. And you can buy the Pro where you can adjust it and stuff. I didn't want to dink around with it. I just wanted a plug and play unit so that I can go out and play. Well, anyway, I'm going to get back to working on this thing. I'm going to install this new muffler. And we'll see how it sounds. So basically what you need to do here is you pull off your little heat shield. You're going to reuse this again. And this, the unit that I got is a 14-inch muff from the company. And we'll go ahead and pull all this stuff off here. All right, so this should just slide right off. There we go. Whoa. And this is what everybody talks about in the videos, is how this rubs a little bit on the inside. And even after I kicked it out a little bit, this thing is heavy. Yeah, I don't know if you can make that out. This is the stock one. It's 9 pounds, 11 and 3/4 ounces. That's the old one. Let me grab the new one here with all the little components. That's 5 pounds 7 ounce, or 5 pounds 3/4 ounces. Geez, that's quite the savings there. I mean, this thing is so much lighter. So one of the hard parts is getting this little rubber to go around there that holds the muffler in place. And it does come with, it came with a new exhaust gasket, which is kind of cool. And then all the little components for putting this thing, the little strap that bolts onto here. And it comes with some exhaust sealant to put on there to get around here. And then when the adapter, on the adapter here, when it goes onto the muffler itself. So I'm gonna put this all together and see how it goes. One thing you want to make sure you do with these stainless steel exhaust is to wipe them down with some, I'm using acetone here, just to make sure that you get all your fingerprints off, because if you don't, they'll be in there permanently. So keep that in mind. And I'm happy with the sound, and now we'll see how the performance goes. So if you ever think about getting one of these, they're fun. They're coming out with a 450. We won't probably see here in the States till next year, I got a feeling, or really late this season. I don't know, the 411, it's a good motor. I even have a cam coming for it that I'm going to try out later on, but I want to see how it performs this way, what my step up was with that. The cam gets away with a lot of that noise on the other side of the engine it's an exhaust relief, and you get a little chain noise. So this will probably take care of, you know, a little bit of my performance stuff, and maybe the cam will add a little more to it. But that's for a different film altogether. The only thing I've got coming that I need to put on, and they say it's supposed to be here today, is a Fuel X light. So once again, I apologize for not showing the whole hookup for the Fuel X light, but it's pretty dang simple. You have 4 plug-ins that either have to plug into whatever unit you have coming off your exhaust, the sensor, and you disconnect that, plug those in, good to go. They have a good instructions online for it. Just use it. Also, there's a ground point that you got to find. You can go to the battery or to the frame. That works fine too. I went to the frame. I had a spot, so I did that. But other than that, very simple unit. It goes through its programming and stuff, and it worked great. I felt a little bit better throttle control, I think, after the unit came on. So yeah, what the heck. So if you've liked this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget that ringy-dingy button there for the next episode coming up. So this is Mr. Miyagi saying, you be safe out there and hope to see you on the road. Ciao.